Good evening, and welcome to the January 22nd, 2025 meeting of the Tyngsborough Capital Asset Management Committee. I'm the chair of this meeting, Ron Schneider. The following meeting is being recorded and broadcast by Tyngsborough Media. The meeting is available through our local cable access channels on Comcast and Verizon Fios, and as a live stream on our website, www.tyngsboroughma.gov. A recording of this meeting will be available through the video on demand portion of our website. Open meeting laws require that any member of the audience who intends on recording either video or audio, please declare that now. Seeing none, I will now start with introductions to my left.
Earl Mason, Finance Committee.
Good evening, Eric Eldridge, Select Board.
Anthony Tenorella, School Committee.
Ryan McMahon, School Committee.
Catherine Foster, Assistant Town Manager.
Thank you. First item on our agenda is to approve the meeting minutes for October 3rd and November 20th. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the meeting minutes for October 3rd, 2024 as printed.
I second.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? That carries 5-0-0.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the meeting minutes for November 30th, 2024 as printed.
November 20th, right?
November 20th, sorry,
I
2024.
second it.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? That carries 5-0-0. Item number 2. Approve the Capital Asset Committee meeting annual report submission. Pat, you want to take us through that?
Sure. I don't have it prepared to put on the screen for us, but I did send to everyone a draft to review, and I did get a few edits, which I appreciate. Other than that, it's pretty much a mirror of what we submitted last year.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd asked to get your approval so I can submit that to Jackie and make her happy. So we'll be on time. We'll be early. I think they're due February 20th or 30th, something like that. So as long as everyone's okay and I can get the unanimous approval, I'll send that over.
Can I get a motion for?
Yeah, I move that we approve the submittal of the annual town report based on the latest version that Kat sent us.
I'll second that.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? That carries 5-0-0.
Great, and I'll get that submitted. We'll be
All right.
early.
Thank you. It's all about keeping Jackie happy, so thank you.
She runs this place.
Yes.
Colin and
Without a
I
doubt.
joke about that, but we're serious.
All right, the fire truck pumper update.
Just a brief update. We finalized the purchase of the new pumper truck, and the final purchase price was $719,000, which is $181,000 lower than what we authorized at town meeting, which was $900,000. The town will issue a short-term bond anticipation note and look to consolidate with other debt either as part of this year's capital plan or a future borrowing. So they're looking to do some training this week or early next, and hopefully they'll be able to start using it.
When did it get delivered, or is it
It
arrived?
did, yes,
It did
last
arrive.
week.
Okay.
It arrived, yes.
Great.
So it's ready to go, but I guess they're required to do some training to learn the different, I guess, ins and outs of it.
Mm-hmm.
And once they do, they're all set to go.
Yeah, we saw some pictures.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
Yeah,
It's a
looks
beautiful
good.
truck, yep. And just to reiterate, though the town approved, I believe it was $900K to buy the truck, that excess amount does not go back into the capital asset budget. It goes, we just don't spend it.
Okay.
So,
And what happens with the old truck? We liquidate that, or at some auction or something, or what happens to that? And what happens to
Correct.
those funds when you liquidate?
It would go to the general fund.
It goes to the general?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But if I'm not mistaken, it's not like it's,
no, it's not worth a
it's
whole
not,
lot.
yeah, it's
If
not a
it's-
material amount.
Yeah, the truck
Does that
is,
have to get moved to make room to park the other one, though, to store it indoors, so that one goes out or does something now? And
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
okay. Good.
All right. Item number 5 on our agenda is the capital plan update.
Just get that on screen. Okay. So just as a refresher, and we just presented at the Finance Committee meeting, we're looking to spend about $1.1 million for it, which would include the fire truck, which we borrowed at about $720,000. And of that 1.1, $400,000 would be free cash. And we have a limited availability of free cash to spend on capital this year, as you can see. And one of our focuses, and we've discussed at several of our meetings, is more aggressively funding our reserve or stabilization fund. So that certainly is going to be a priority this year, because we have not neglected, but have not put as much in as we want to, especially with the middle school. We don't know what we're going to be expecting in a few years, or this year for that matter. All right. So everyone has seen this list. So this is the summary of the department head requests. Of these requests, we did take out the Commission on Disabilities request for Town Hall handicap accessible doors. We are actually funding those, and they will be installed in the next month or so at the Veterans entrance and the Children's Center entrance, and that will be out of the operating budget, as well as the backup and recovery solution upgrade. That will be funded in the operating budget, the IT budget. And then in a future, I will confirm, but I don't necessarily think it's this capital year, but the security camera system upgrade will be funded out of the police budget. Mm-hmm. And to provide a little bit more context to why we've sort of scrubbed this initial request and where we are today, which I'll present on the next slide, is for the past 5 or so years, we have had this habit of holding off on certain projects and lumping together multiple smaller items to create one large request, which really should be addressed in the operating budget. As part of this reset year that we've discussed and to create a more sustainable budget, we've redirected department heads to address these type of items moving forward in their operating budget. For example, more of these routine things, which would be the server upgrade. We know that every 3 or so years we're going to have to replace that. So have a line item in the budget to do so. And it may be the case that we don't have to replace it in that year, but that's okay. We still have that. So what tends to happen is, because we lump together some of these requests and we get these one-time large requests, is that we takes away from some of the larger things like the DPW trucks or the fire trucks. And so sort of that's our methodology for determining this next slide. So this is our recommended budget, which includes the police department exterior upgrades. And that would include, as the previous slide, we'll just go back here for a moment. That would include the window replacement, the structure foundation repair and waterproofing, and then the roof bracing. And then $151,000, which would be for the backhoe. And the backhoe is aging, it's at its end of life. We spent about $12,000 in just repairs alone since 2021. And this piece of equipment has saved us a significant amount of money because we haven't had to contract out a lot of work. We've done that in-house. So that's why it is being recommended as well. And with the police department, because we've been putting off for so many years in talks of a new public safety facility, the likelihood of that happening anytime soon is not, I guess, not likely, as we're focusing on a fire station at this point in time. So we've held off on a lot of these serious maintenance and facility upgrades because of that. So as we all know, that we completed that facility assessment this past summer. These were identified as needing to be complete in the near term. Obviously, a foundation repairs is significant to the entire structural integrity of the building, so that's something we certainly want to focus on. And then the roof bracing as well, especially we just paid $40,000, if not more, for a new antenna to be put on top of that building. So we have some serious assets there, and the roof needs a significant amount of repair. So that being said, I think this meeting, we do have a meeting on the 12th, I believe. It is more to kind of get your feedback on this initial this initial draft. You know, if we can vote on that tonight, great. If not, at least we have one more meeting before we have the finance committee in March. So I'd like to get any feedback, questions, comments, any more information that you need.
Questions, comments, guys?
I would agree with Kat that over the last, I don't know, 4 years or whatever I've been on this committee, we have put off a ton of work on the police department and the fire department, in hopes that we would end up with something new. I know the Massachusetts, school building committee, who helps fund these and reimburses the town, they're also working on a municipality building committee. I'm hoping that something comes out of that soon,
Yeah.
but until then, I support the police department exterior upgrades personally, and the backhoe.
Yeah, and we've talked about that. So Senator Kennedy, he actually sponsored that bill. We've been pushing for it. I think we'll continue to push for it. I think Tyngsborough is no different than other towns in that these buildings are increasingly complex in the amount of money that it takes. Love to see it, and we would need to be there. I think that the challenge that we've got is the police department, that building. We're hopeful that we can do something with fire sooner. We know that one is in more dire straits. The police department, we've got to get it to the point where the building stands. I do think with some of these things, I like where we're going with the getting things in the operating budget, just because we need to do some of these. We've talked about it with all of our buildings, right? And making sure that let's figure out how we get money in there for each of these things. Doors and windows and certain things are gonna go, and so we just have to plan for some of that. I think that this is good. I think it's minimal as far as what we need to borrow at this time, because we know that we've got some challenges, right? And making sure that we're supplying our $1 million from the operating budget to help fund the middle school. So, I mean, this makes sense to me. I was glad to see that we've already found ways to fund the doors for the Commission on Disability and some of the backup stuff. So I think that's good. I think that work that you guys have been doing to figure out how we deal with some of those things is a good way to go. So I'm in favor of the way this looks right now overall.
Right, Earl, any comments?
I agree. I think you've done a good job, right? The few drafts I've seen earlier, you've kind of, scrubbed it pretty good, and, yeah, I'm in favor of where you've ended up here right now with your recommendation.
Yeah, I agree. It's never an easy task to whittle down all the requests, so.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'll reiterate what Mr. Eldridge said, with the water issues that we've had at the police station for a while that have eroded some of the foundation, it's time to take care of that, particularly in light of the fact that we're not going to be building, most likely, a combined public safety building. Likely it'll be a fire station first, a police station later. So we're probably 8 to 10 years out, if not more, before we build a new police station. So it behooves us to make these, these kind of important exterior upgrades, because we know we need to be in that building for the foreseeable future. So, and then, the backhoe, I think, is kind of a no-brainer. We've been needing that for a while. So I'm all in favor of it also. And we're trying to be, fiscally prudent, not borrow money, fund it out of free cash. So, I think this is a reasonable solution right now.
And, excuse me, Mr. Chair, Kat, do you remember what, in addition to this, what we said was, I think in our initial budget, how much were we trying to put into the capital stabilization? Because I think it was like 250 or 300, because we want to
Yes.
continue to, because we're going to have some difficult decisions on some of these things, right? And we don't want to borrow all that
Away,
money.
yeah.
So, in addition to that, we say, we need to start saving. I don't remember what that number was. I want to say,
I want to say it was,
I don't want to commit Colin to a bigger number than, because then I'll get yelled at. But I thought it was either 250 or 300,
I believe you're right.
which is what we've been
I'll
trying to do
confirm.
for the last, 4 years or so. And maybe that's something that we just include in the next. I know
Yes.
there's something in there.
200,000 is what we're trying to put in the
200?
capital,
200,
capital
yeah.
asset
So,
stabilization. You had a balance of
200,000.
$1,025,000, put 200 in.
Good thing we didn't
Didn't commit?
commit more.
Anticipated
Yes.
deposit, anticipated.
Yep.
But I think that's also important because of the, another 10, 12 years from now, we're gonna have to replace Pierce Field again at 1.2. And there's other, I just bring that up as an example because
Yeah.
we keep saying that we need to save for these, we need to, and we don't. And I get it, there's
Yeah.
issues, there's always things that come up, but some of these things we definitely need to save for. We know they're coming. That's a big part of Tyngsborough, so.
Yeah, we brought that one up a couple meetings ago, because we were sitting there talking about, it's like, because that's been a few years already.
Yes.
And we're sitting there going, okay, so we know it's coming, we know the number.
We made that 10-year field last 17 years,
Yeah,
so.
exactly. So yeah, those are the types of things.
Hopefully, we're doing the same things, but we know that's $1.2, $1.6 million. So,
Yep.
they're big, and then we've got the fire department, we have everything. So, putting money in that stabilization fund for future capital assets to me is very important, so, thank you. If I could, Mr. Chair, real quick, Mr. Eldridge brought up putting things back into our budgets, and I'll bring up the MacBooks. There's 102,000 there. About 10 years ago, it was actually the Board of Selectmen who said that should be in capital asset. So moving it back now, we're all in favor of, but I think there has to be a process of implementing that back into our budgets, because throwing an extra 102,000 in our budget is not gonna go over well with you guys, so.
Can you stagger it in? Could you stagger something like that?
Yeah, it
And that's
could be
what you're thinking?
staggered in
Yeah,
over,
yeah.
2 years, but we were on I think it was a 50 replacement a year thing or something like that. I don't remember the exact figure, but we can work that back into our budget. It's just gonna take
Yep.
a little time to do that, so.
Yeah, and I think those are the types of things, that's also changed probably over the last 10 years. I know in the private sector, for example, laptops and computers used to be an asset that was tagged and all that stuff. Now, you just expense it. It's a known cost. You're gonna get I don't know whether schools are maybe getting 5 years out of them now and that type of thing, and just sit there and say, have them staggered so that you're not replacing 300 all at once. You get on the 50 a year type of thing.
Right.
And that has
ARPA
changed.
helped us through that process, because we bought a lot of those and
Yep.
with the ARPA funds.
Yep.
But now it's coming to an end, so.
Yeah, I think we've got a bunch of those types we've talked about it, even like with the servers, right? With the backup and recovery and the backup server. You're gonna need it. It's gonna last 5 years. That server's 5 years. Get it in your budget for each of these things and have the maintenance on them. It's hard. It is hard, and those are the types of things. Do we need to do anything relative to helping to codify that and say, should we provide like written guidance that says, guys, these types of things should be in your budget. These types of things should be in, maybe we should be providing a little bit more clarity
More guidance, yes.
to the department heads to say, look, don't come to me with you took 3 different things that were 15,000 and bundle them together. Get those in this way, and maybe computers, have them be,
Yeah. Yeah.
maybe that should be one of the things where you folks have done a good job of going through the projects for us and working with the department heads. Maybe we should be providing some guidance, say, we think that this is what it is, and maybe that's what comes out of the tri-board session to say, here's what we think the guidance should be on that. So that way, the department heads are not sitting there going, what are we doing and which way? So maybe
And
that's.
can we combine some of that electronic stuff where the town as a whole, between the DPW, the fire department, police department, we all jump in and look at the replacement as a whole?
So maybe that's something,
Yeah.
if we're I don't want to jump into this.
No.
But maybe if we're good with the capital plan this year, maybe our meeting on the 12th, we could start talking about that, and that's something, when we do the tri-board, to say, we'd like to at least have a draft to
Yeah, some
socialize that
parameters, yeah.
with folks, just see what they think, because, you know, I think about the things that we could be doing, and that, maybe that, providing that clarity is something that would just make it a little bit easier on them.
Yeah, I think those are valuable guidelines. You avoid a debate later on about why isn't my item being considered. So I think that's a great idea for the next meeting.
See, Tony always has one.
I tried. I tried. But, just to add to that a little bit, but we were talking about the cemetery a couple of years ago with the fence. If they have to put that fence in their budget, they double their budget. But it doesn't qualify as a capital asset, because it's not worth enough. So you need that, we need some sort of a guidance to move forward with those types of things, so.
Yep. Of course, now cemetery's part of DPW, so now we're
Now,
much better
they
off.
can put that in there.
See?
There you go.
Binding those departments.
Go ahead.
Anything else?
No, I didn't
Put in the
know,
order?
I didn't know whether we were looking to vote on this.
I don't know that we needed to vote tonight. I mean, we could if we wanted, but we don't have to do that tonight. We were just really talking about deliberating about this tonight and making sure that we're all in agreement. I'd be happy to take a vote tonight if we want.
Yeah, I move that we,
Then we could use our next meeting to, like you say, start developing parameters and some guidelines that we could pass on to departments.
based on what I heard, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the capital projects plan as presented, and then we can always reevaluate later if something else comes up between now and then, but
Sure.
I say we take it as it's presented right here.
And I would second that.
I have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? That carries 5-0-0. All
There
right.
you go, Kat. Sold.
Nice.
And thank you for all the work that
Yeah,
you and Colin put into this, and the rest of the employees here at the town hall.
good stuff.
Thank you.
All right, I have our next meeting being scheduled for February 12th. Does that work for everyone?
Works for me. We have a placeholder, but we moved the meeting, is 6:30, did we determine 6:30 was better?
Yeah.
6:30
Ryan,
works
I
for
think
me,
it's better, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's no problem. That's
I work
fine.
up in Londonderry. It's
If
still
that still
getting
works for you, that
does.
works for us.
So we
All
moved
right.
it to 6:30.
I will, a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
I will second that.
Wow, that was fast. All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.